Think beyond traditional business banking. Think a partner that gives you in-depth financial insights.
From the moment one hires their first team member in business, several labor law compliance issues come into play, from tax laws to the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. On today's edition of Business Matters, we look at why labor laws matter. Osborne, thanks very much indeed for talking to us. I want to start with the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, which sets up the parameters for everything from workplace conditions to leave policies. What are some of the things that small businesses overlook when they start?
The key thing is the minimum standards in relation to terms and conditions that are to apply to employees earning below a certain maximum per annum. And currently, I think it's 241,000. That is non-negotiable. Those employees are entitled to get exactly that which is set out in the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, such as hours of work, overtime, weekend work, and Sunday work. Those are non-negotiable. So it's minimum standards which must be complied by every employer, including business enterprise.
You've also got to watch out for new developments, and I point to, for example, the new employment equity laws.
Yes.
Small enterprises have got some catching up to do because now we've seen numericals enter the frame.
The one thing that it can be comforting to them is that their turnover plays a critical role, that if you have a turnover of less than 10 million, you may be exempt from certain critical requirements coming from the Employment Equity Act and its regulations. However, transformation in the workplace is non-negotiable. Every designated employer is expected to comply with the employment equity, including the amendments that are published from time to time.
From your experience, let's talk about the national minimum wage. Now, depending on your work structure as a business,
Yes,
it can become complicated when you're dealing with staff. How do they navigate through that?
the best way is for the small to medium enterprise to make use of experts so that they get an understanding of how this national minimum wage applies and the exclusions thereof, farm workers, and to really get an understanding as to how that national minimum wage in terms of hourly rates translate to on a month-to-month basis, which will then enable them to budget accordingly as they start to roll out their new business enterprise to becoming something of a success in the future.
You may have seen a number of cases on the next point, the Unemployment Insurance Fund.
Yes.
You've said it's a non-negotiable registration immediately when you start up. There have been some challenges there.
That's a sticky point. Often you find that vulnerable employees, they get too excited by just getting their pay slip, looking at their net paid into their bank accounts. They don't inquire with the particular employer as to whether the money that is being deducted as UIF, whether it gets paid over to SARS, such that at the time that the employment gets terminated, other than resignation, then they'll be able to claim it from the Unemployment Insurance Fund. More often than not, they get frustrated when they're told that there hasn't been any UIF deductions paid over by your employer over to us.
Osborne, the type of tax that a business registers for will depend on a number of factors, among them the type of turnover that you make as a small business. Of course, that's also not a very smooth road at times, is it?
Indeed. And again, our advice is that when you intend to start a business, please make sure you consult with the experts, be it tax practitioner, be it a labor law practitioner, be it a financial expert, so that you know the amount of tax you're getting yourself as a new business owner, as well as the obligations, the SARS obligations that will apply to your business venture from time to time on a monthly basis or on a bi-monthly basis.
Osborne, thanks very much indeed for your time.
It's my pleasure.
This program is in partnership with Nedbank Commercial Banking, a banking partner that thinks bigger to guide your business growth.